Hello, everybody. Welcome to Government Secrets number 9. We think.
Maybe. Government secrets. Unclear about the episode number. Because the CIA won't let us number the episodes. Let's blame the CIA. Because you and I
episode number, insert episode number here. I think that should do fine.
Do it. Make up whatever number you want. You know what I mean? We're hippies.
Yeah,
so
we are. Actually, I don't believe in math. I've never been good at it. Don't believe in it.
I don't. So just sign an emotion to this episode. Government secrets. Emotion.
That'd be the most hippie thing we could do. Government secrets episode purple.
Folks, assign your own chakra stone to today's episode, and that'll be what this is. And folks, please, if you're just watching this live or you're new to it, this actually is an audio podcast that we release. It's on Libsyn. But it's on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud. So download
Spotify, I believe.
Yes. So any of the places that always helps the show, just downloading it and like positive comments in iTunes, especially like 5-star reviews and comments, that helps push it out and helps the algorithm. And I think we put it in the news section. We didn't put it in comedy.
Oh, I have no idea. I thought it was food. I thought we were under food shows.
We are. This is a food show. We're going to give government secret cooking tips.
You guys don't know it, but I've been cooking some brilliant dishes. But I didn't realize you weren't filming my hands. I've been cooking during every episode.
Oh my God, that's fantastic!
I've never mentioned.
That'll be the next series. The next episode will just be all of the things Lee's cooked that we didn't know he was cooking. That'll be a government secret.
Yeah, that'll be one of the secrets. But yeah, for everybody, you should check past. And if you're new to this, you should check past episodes because, we've covered some of the classics like the assassination of Martin Luther King, assassination of RFK. I think we've done so far. And we're gonna keep getting into some of the classics, but we also kind of do the government secrets of the day. This one I could put it. It's under both. It's under both of the day, and it's under the past, because the day we're filming this, although the podcast will come out in a couple of days, we're filming this on 9/11. Not sure if you've heard of that number, but to the crazy people in other countries, it's 11/9. Because you're fucking backwards. Get your shit together. And but I want to talk about the 28 pages which was revealed, and people who are like really study this shit, they of course know that the 28 pages was revealed, but a lot of people, this kind of like flew under the radar and they never really cared much, and it didn't get hardly any media play. But 28 pages of the official report on 9/11 was redacted, and everyone wondered what the fuck was in it for 12 years, from like 2004 to 2016. And then it comes out, the 28 pages are finally declassified. And for the most shocking, I'd say the most shocking revelation from those 28 pages is that when they finally release them, it turns out they're 29 pages. I mean, what?
Added a page? Or what?
How could the 28 pages be 29 pages? That is the largest government secret. So they unredact these 28, 29 pages, and basically most of it just shows that the hijackers were completely connected to Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Arabian government. Saudi Arabian government was paying some of these people, and I think maybe the more important thing is that the reason they needed to redact these pages is because they were in the midst of the war in Iraq. They had convinced the entire nation that we needed to invade Iraq after 9/11, despite the fact that they already had all of this evidence showing that it was connected to Saudi Arabia.
Which is just like, the thin line to invade Afghanistan, you could kind of see it at the time. Like, okay, the Taliban gave them the safe haven, but it all kind of.
Well, yeah, you should always obliterate a nation who gives safe haven to someone you don't like.
Right.
They happen to be there. So, just fucking blow them into fucking caveman times.
Yeah. And then that was like, okay, kind of get it at the time, just at the time. But the Iraq thing made no sense. And tying to Saddam Hussein, who we backed in the Iran-Iraq war in the 80s, of course. And then the refusal to ever acknowledge that it was mostly Saudis. Like, and anytime, like when Khashoggi was murdered by the Saudi government, we talked about how that was awful, or the corporate media talked about how that was awful, not us, but like they talked about how that was awful, but then again, never talked about the 9/11 bombers being.
Well, because Khashoggi was one of the elite. He was the Washington Post, writer. He is part of that oligarchy, and so it's not that I don't think any journalist, even ones I think, maybe are working for a corporate hack outlet, I don't think they should be murdered and dismembered. So I'm not saying this is an okay thing, but it's like, that's why there was this true outrage from the kind of journalist and elite class, because it was one of them that was killed. And so that changed everything. And something else, speaking of Khashoggi, something else, a government secret that came out this week is that Trump said on these phone calls to Bob Woodward that he saved his name slipped my mind, but what's his face, the Prince of Saudi Arabia, who basically ordered Khashoggi to be executed. And so Trump on these phone calls is bragging that he's like, I saved his life. I saved the Prince of Saudi Arabia from getting in trouble for killing this guy.
And Woodward knew about this stuff for 3 years and did nothing and just waited till his book came out.
It wasn't 3 years. I thought he had these conversations starting last December, I think.
Okay, so a little over.
So he knew about it for months. Yeah,
months, and just was like, "Wow, my book's coming out. I can't, I mean, I can keep writing on my Watergate fame another 9 months and just let that slide," which is like. Like
if he had revealed this back when the other big thing that they're saying is that Trump has said on these phone calls that he knew the pandemic was incredibly harmful and a lot of people would die. He knew back in January, February. And it's like, if Bob Woodward had come forward with that in February, it would have completely changed the American response to this shit.
Yes. It would have been like, the media would have been like, okay. And all of the people who don't like Trump would have had actual valid ammunition rather than just Trump bad, Russia, Trump. They could say, oh, wow, he's turning a blind eye to this disease. And, Woodward, that guy, man, I just watched All the President's Men and, great work back in the 70s, but just like anybody, they get older and wealthier and comfortable. And
yeah, well, he and Bernstein is another one. Jesus Christ. You ever watch Bernstein on MSNBC? He is like frothing at the mouth Russia gator on the level of like Keith Olbermann or something, like, traitors, Russia, Putin. And you're like, Jesus Christ, man, get a hold of yourself. These were the great journalists of the last era. And now they're just kind of largely corporate hacks. But Another. Now we're on the topic. I realize we've gotten afar from the 28 pages, but sure. It's worth it. Sometimes the government secrets, they just spindle off into these other tentacles, and you've got to talk about a bunch of them. But speaking of Woodward, Matt Orfalea, who's an independent journalist, does these videos on YouTube, did this great video where he took all of Woodward. Woodward did one of these. You ever see the ads on YouTube for these online courses, like learn how to write a shit TV show, learn how to masturbate harder than anyone ever has, like all that stuff.
Which is it is a great class, and there's a coupon code that you can use in this camp.
As long as there's a coupon code, I'll do fucking anything. I don't give a shit. I'll be like, wait, I wasn't going to pierce my nipples, but there's a coupon code. I don't really have a choice.
All right. If there's a coupon code, I got to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, got to do it at that point. And so Woodward has a class on one of those classes on YouTube for journalism, how to be a good journalist. And Matt Orfalea took all of the times that Woodward said that basically the way to be a good journalist, and what he does all the time, is get sources to reveal classified or covered up information. Like, that is their job. That is, if they're doing it right. You find out secrets by the government or by an organization, and you reveal them. That is what a good journalist does. Well, guess what? That's what Julian Assange has been tortured for all these years in solitary confinement and is currently being prosecuted for, is that same shit. And here's Woodward, and I don't know. I don't think Woodward has stood up for Assange much. I don't know whether he has at all. Maybe he hasn't at all. But anyway, here's Woodward saying basically exactly what Julian Assange has done is exactly what journalism is.
Well, that's the thing that is so maddening. And again, this is relevant to a certain extent because the 28 pages is something that WikiLeaks has, discussed, and WikiLeaks has uncovered all this stuff, is the people like Bob Woodward who are noticeably silent about Julian Assange. Maybe they said one little thing in an interview that was kind of in support of him or whatever, but he should be screaming from the mountaintops. Bernstein, instead of yelling about Russia, like I don't know, drinking too much contaminated water, Keith Olbermann, but like really should be like, they should be, those two guys especially should be screaming from the mountaintops. They should be like, hey man, before we got there, before we did Watergate, Ben Bradley and the Washington Post, had to go in front of the Supreme Court to defend the Pentagon Papers. So this is just, they should be screaming that, and they're not. Like it's the silence is almost almost worse than trying to smear WikiLeaks or Julian Assange in some cases, because it's like,
in my opinion, it almost doesn't matter who the journalist is, what they've worked on and everything. If they don't support Julian Assange and really support him on a regular basis, then they are fucking hacks. Right. I mean, you can't set this precedent of a journalist. He's not even American, and his organization is not American. And you can't see a fellow journalist being prosecuted in this way and just allow it to happen without being a fucking sad sack of shit. I mean, like a really gruesome sack of shit. It's just like dripping out of the corners, and like, someone's left it there for a long time. So it's like an old sack of shit. Like, just, yeah.
I was like, wow, you're really describing it as an old sack of shit.
I was impressed you kept a straight face for most of it. But
well, I was waiting for a coupon code.
Oh, okay.
I was like, well, then I'll buy one.
Listen, I'd buy a sack of shit if it had a coupon code.
Telling you, this is like government secret sack of shit 2020. That's the coupon. I get 20% off. I'm in. I'm into that sack of shit. Yep. I'm so in for that. So no, it's just more of the insane hypocrisy. And again, since today is the anniversary of 9/11, which was obviously a horrifying event, we've been at war in Afghanistan for 19 years. Like, that's another, and we've talked about before on this show, the Afghanistan papers. Why are we still, I mean, and the equation I always, so you draw 9/11 to Pearl Harbor, right? Imagine if we were still fighting in Europe and Japan and, the South in 1960.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Like,
exactly.
Nobody, it's half the country doesn't even know we're still at war there. Like, we're sending 18-year-olds there who were born after 9/11.
Or imagine if we were still in Vietnam in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
crazy.
I mean, so wait a minute. We pulled out of Vietnam in 1975 was when the last troops left, right? So 19 years after that would be 1994. So imagine everybody, 1994, we're still in Vietnam. Like, that is insane to me. And, you and I talked a little bit off camera about this. I'm not, my view on, people asked, Graham, what do you think? Was it fake? Did they know about 9/11? Was it planned or whatever? My view is like, I don't know. Maybe, but at the very least, I think it's like Pearl Harbor, where there's these rumors that have floated over the years of how FDR kind of knew the Japanese were going to attack. That's why all these high-level officers got pulled out of there. And he kind of let it happen because he knew America at the time didn't want to get involved in World War II that had already been going on for several years in Europe, and Americans didn't want to get into it. And my guess is at the very least, because people have asked me a lot on the show, and I'm sure you're asked a lot, like, what are your views on that? At the very least, Bush and Cheney and them knew something was going to happen, and they just let it happen so they could justify this crazy war budget and the military industrial complex, profiting for the last 19 years.
Yeah. I think it was allowed to happen. I think there are a million questions that I don't have the answers to because so much has been covered up. I think that, like, there's certain things that people point to as proving the whole thing was like fake, which it's like, no, I absolutely think they shot Flight 93 out of the sky because they didn't know where it was going, stuff like that. So it's like, so much was covered up. I did a segment on Redacted tonight where the University of, I think it was Alaska or something, but officially did like a computer simulation of a building, with thousands of data points and all this shit. And you can look it up, and in terms of Building 7, and it's like, I don't fucking know what happened to Building 7, but I can tell you it is fucking weird that it came down hours later, whatever it was, 7 or 10 hours later or something, and was not hit by an airplane. Right. and if you were to, Building 7, it sounds like a small building, but if you were to see that in any city other than New York City, other than next to the Twin Towers, that would be one of the largest skyscrapers you've ever seen. Right. And I have no answers. I have no answers to it, but I think that at the very least, they absolutely allowed this to happen. They knew it was, he received the documents saying an attack was imminent. They were watching these people at these flight schools. They had later they had these 28 pages where it was clearly connected to Saudi Arabia. They flew all the bin Ladens out of the country the following day. I mean, none of that is debatable. So it's like, you don't need to picture Bush in the building at midnight with a bag of thermite to understand how fucked up this was. Like, it's phenomenally, horribly fucked up. And,
with a backpack of thermite. Like, no.
Just sprinkling. I picture him in like Peter Pan tights, just sprinkling it around like, I imagine that's how he'd do it. But the point is still the same, that this is a phenomenal crime of epic proportions. Right. and just so horrific, and people, stop talking about it. They move on as if this is something to just get used to, when it really, really is not. The
thing is, like, again, there's I don't immediately just go, oh, they planned, like you said, Bush blew them. Like, I need more evidence than that for me personally. But the on the other side of it, the just asking any question automatically makes me a 9/11 denier. Like that other reaction that usually comes from the corporate media or the whatever. Like, we should be allowed to ask these questions. We should be allowed to ask why these things that you stated that are fact. Of why was the bin Laden family?
Can you stop going down this path? It's making me very uncomfortable.
Could you
could you just stop talking about asking questions, please?
No, because it's like, and the reason we should, and when you ask the question and people say, well, you're trampling on the memory of the people that died and the first responders, and it's like, actually, no. I think all the more reason. It's like,
yeah. Anytime you ask questions of why someone died, your friend was murdered. Well, who killed him? You were trampling on his grave.
It's like, no, I want to know. Like, and if we were lied to, the American people were lied to, and all these people gave their lives. I mean, I didn't know anybody personally, but I knew people that lost someone they knew in New York. And it was a significant event for all of us. It made me reevaluate being, I was just a game show host comedian at that point. And I joined the Red Cross and I started doing the tours to Iraq and Afghanistan. And I felt like,
if any positive came out of this, I think it was stopping your game show career, really. I've often said 9/11 served its purpose.
Well, Lee, we're going to get you into the bonus round with a cash and points double. We'll be right back with more game show secrets. Wink Martindale works for the CIA. Anyway, I can't say that officially. But yeah, please, folks, go on YouTube and look up Strip Poker Graham Elwood. You're going to have a great time. You're going to see me in shiny shirts and sideburns.
Was that you?
That was me. That was me. So anyway, yeah. So let's talk about the 28 pages, then the 29th one, and let's ask the questions about Saudi Arabia's info. That should be asked. And the bigger, again, the other question, and we'll move on, I guess, at this point, is why are we still in Afghanistan? Like, again, if we were in Vietnam in 1994, if we were in Japan and Europe in 1960, that is what is happening now. It's the year 2020. This happened in 2001. So like nobody back then was like, this war will still be going on in 19 years. That's just preposterous. So, and
as the, every once in a while, your mainstream media will do a little blip of actual journalism where they go, maybe we'll do our jobs for like 8 seconds of the year. And if you look at Washington Post's Afghanistan papers, it shows that every administration down the line, Bush, Obama, Trump, it's just been utter lies about Afghanistan, about the goals, about, when we'll get out of there, about whether we're making progress. I mean, Obama gave grand speeches in front of fucking up armored Humvees and shit behind him at I think a base in Afghanistan saying, we're going to come home by 2014 and all this shit. And it turns out it was all horseshit. It wasn't like he was being optimistic. It was like he and the administration and the military knew there was no real goal. There was no real exit strategy. And then on top of that, you have Trump saying he's bringing troops home from Afghanistan. Then the following day, it turns out Russia paid all the Taliban. And then all of a sudden the troops aren't coming home or whatever. And so the Afghanistan papers, which only came out this year, just showed for a fact that there is no plan of getting out of there, because the truth is, having whatever the fuck Afghanistan is, a failed state with basically a U.S. government occupation, is much better for the U.S. empire than any other possibility. They don't want to leave a puppet in place that might lose his power, and they don't want to do a full occupation where they claim it's an American territory, because that would cause a lot of problems. So they're perfectly happy with this fucking catastrophe as it is.
Yeah. And it's so similar to the Pentagon Papers. The Pentagon Papers revealed that JFK knew, Eisenhower knew, Truman, for Vietnam, they just and the same, very similar. Nobody had any, Robert McNamara, nobody had any. The generals were like, we can't win this. There's no end in sight. And Obama, who said he was going to pull us out of Iraq and Afghanistan, and pulled troops out kind of, and then kept them in there and kept the bombing going and kept the special ops missions going. So it never.
No, but the surge was under Obama, right? So he actually sent more troops.
Yeah, he surged. I mean, he surged in Afghanistan. He pulled us out of Iraq, but surged in Afghanistan. And again, it was all these. I mean, we could have gone in if Afghanistan was as they said, right? Okay, they gave safe harbor, and they created 9/11. We got control of the country very quickly, and then we could have done what we did in World War II, which was the Marshall Plan, and what we did in Japan, and help rebuild them. And we should be right now. Oh, there's commercial flights to Kabul, and you can go and visit it the way you could in Europe in the 50s and the early 60s. The Tokyo Olympics was 1964, and that was this sort of gesture of it's 20 years since World War II. This is the new Japan and all of that stuff. But we didn't. We just kept the bombing going and kept the nonsense and kept the no strategy. Just, this bomb this place and this guy, we got this guy. Yeah, none of it. They didn't put any real money into that. Was part of the rebuilding of after World War II, was to bring these countries that had dictators back into democracy.
But you've got to be excited, at least, Graham, that we've killed 27 Al-Qaeda number ones. So that's something.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
something.
And it's done. It's been so effective, and then we.
Well, the Al-Qaeda was on the ropes until we decided to train them to fight in Syria, and give them weaponry. But before that, they were having a rough time. So
yeah, and then we pulled the troops out of Iraq, and then weird, ISIS popped up, and then Sharina Shim found out we were funneling through bases in Turkey, and then weird, she had a car accident. Another journalist that the Anderson Coopers and the Rachel Maddows of the world don't seem to mention ever.
Yeah. Speaking about that, it might be a good time to segue into story number 2.
Secret. Oh, there was a horn at the end. I don't know what happened.
Which I thought we could talk a little more about Assange and what's going on with his trial this week. Because obviously he is so crucial. He's so crucial to truth. He's so crucial to so much that has happened in the past 2 decades. And I won't go through everything about Assange because I think they've heard it a lot. People have heard it a lot. But what people might not realize is what happened this week is, so he's already been tortured via basically solitary confinement in Belmarsh prison, which is a prison in the UK, the harshest prison in the UK, mainly reserved for terrorists and killers, and then a publisher who published things they didn't like.
Yeah.
Doesn't it sound weird that he's in that prison? So in this trial, first of all,
he had COVID-19 run through it, and they kind of kept him there.
Yeah, they didn't. His lawyers tried to get him, on like house arrest or something, so he could get away from the COVID-19 rampaging through the prisons. But no, of course not. And in his own trial, they won't let him see his lawyers very often. They don't give him access to the internet, so he can't do his own research. And in the courthouse, they keep him in a plastic box, like he's, fucking Jeffrey Dahmer, like they're going to put the, spit mask across him. And it's absolutely insane. He might publish something about you. You never know.
Don't let him speak the truth. Put him in a box.
So they have him in there like some sort of, imprisoned Tic Tac inside this clear plastic case. And what happened this week is, well, a few weeks ago, they added superseding indictments. The initial indictments were under the Espionage Act for publishing classified information. And I think that the government realized that they might actually lose that, despite the fact that the UK is bending over backwards to try and make sure that they do everything to kill or imprison Julian Assange. The U.S. government was still afraid they might lose this extradition trial because going after a journalist under the Espionage Act has never been done before and is so horrific on so many grounds. So they added a superseding indictment, or several superseding indictments, that say that Julian Assange pressured someone to hack an Icelandic bank. And and also another one is about him helping Snowden evade arrest, which, by the way, there were no charges at the time against Snowden. So how is that a crime to help someone who hasn't been charged with anything evade arrest? It's not, and he's not even an American citizen. It doesn't make any sense. But also the guy who claims to have been pressured to hack the Icelandic bank is an FBI informant that the FBI basically sent to make friends with Assange so that he could run to the FBI and tell them everything. So just on every level, it's just horrific what's going on. And last point is that his defense lawyers came in this week and said, get rid of these superseding indictments. The government added them a few weeks ago. We don't even really understand them. We didn't have time to prepare for them. And here they are. It doesn't make any sense. And the judge, who is, again, bending over backwards for the U.S. government, said, no, that's okay that you had no time to prepare for these and that this is unheard of. We're going to keep those in there. And so then his defense lawyer said, well, in that case, we hate to do this because it keeps Assange in jail for an extra 6 months, but can we push this off to January? Because we need time to prepare for new indictments. And she said, no, that's all right that you haven't had any time to prepare and that that this is unheard of and this lacks complete precedent and this is a fucking sham trial. Daniel Ellsberg, the famed whistleblower, called it a Stalinist show trial. Basically a dog and pony show as if it's a trial, but in fact, it's really it's already the writing's on the wall that they're going to either extradite him or hold him in prison there for years.
It's like I'm perplexed. I guess I'm trying to like figure out why are they even going through this, but I guess it's just they want to go, oh, we found him guilty, because they know so many Americans and people just in the Western and in the Five Eyes countries, Australia, his home country, which is Australian government, has done nothing to protect one of their own citizens.
Well, Graham, it's the same reason that you had the poker game for the stripping. If you just do the strip, then that's too on the nose. So you got to have the poker game to have the thing in the middle where people are like, oh, it's like fun.
Yeah, you're right. It's just too weird to just like, hey, you want to take your clothes off and have sex? Like, whoa, wait a minute.
Join us at 8 p.m. on TBS for We're Taking Our Clothes Off.
Strip poker was on the USA Network, and it was one of the most socially relevant pieces of broadcasting that has ever happened, Lee. And we were snubbed for getting a Peabody Award. So
it got 3 Emmys and a Pulitzer, actually, for getting to the bottom of one of those models' bottoms. It actually got a Pulitzer.
It was the Nobel Prize for Peace for celebrating so many breast implants. It was really, it was fantastic work that we did there. And I think I should start that series again, because it was really it helped. America needs it now more than ever.
Oh man, do we? Jesus Christ. I could use it just in my apartment right now.
Maybe that'll be the next episode of Government Secrets. We'll just play strip poker.
Don't give them ideas, Graham. Don't feed the trolls.
Someone's gonna put $1,000 in the super chat and go, make that happen. I paid for it. Yeah, this Assange thing is so obviously they just want to go through this. Like, I feel like I'm watching, I forget which Star Trek it was, where Kirk was put on trial by the Vulcan, or by the not the Vulcans, but by the Klingon.
Oh, one of the movies, right?
Yeah, one of the movies where they're just like, glock, 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 glock. And he's like, they're all screaming and yelling at him, and he's got a translator, and it's just clearly a kangaroo trial that's broadcast all throughout the galaxy. I'm like,
oh my God. For those of you, film editor geniuses out there, can you please redo that scene with Assange's head on Kirk's body?
Please do it right now. As we speak. And tag us both on social media so we can retweet the shit out of that, and I will put it on this channel. Like, do it right now. You know what? It's like Star Trek 3 or 4 or something like that.
Yeah, it was. I remember as a kid, it was one of my favorites. Yeah, it was like the one where they brought them back. They were already old men, and they brought them back.
Yeah, is that all of them? I think
I think William Shatner was on wife number 6 or something, and they were like, let's do another Star Trek.
Wasn't it the one where William Shatner's hairpiece was on trial? Was it that one?
I think his Merkin was on trial in that one.
The Klingon Merkin trial. I remember that episode. And then they saved a whale or something. I don't remember.
There was a whale involved in an earlier one.
All right, it's in the chat. Star Trek 6, Undiscovered Country. All right. All right, nerds, get on this right now. Put Julian Assange on Kirk's head right now. Make this happen.
Oh my God. Is there a better name for a movie about William Shatner's beaver than Undiscovered Country? It doesn't get any better than that. I mean, that is pure Hollywood genius.
I think there's going to be a couple videos coming out of this segment. Advance is what I feel like. Oh, anyway, yeah, Julian Assange is clearly, and I've been reading Tariq Haddad is in the courtroom and Old Bailey, and so every day, because of the time change with the trial ends in Britain when it's still like daytime here, so he's putting on his, I think it's just tariqhaddad.com every day, kind of he wraps up sort of what happened that day and who testified. So I'm going to try to get
another good one is Kevin Gostola, who's on Twitter and Consortium News. They follow it like daily.
Yeah. So we'll see how long this kangaroo show trial happens. So maybe it's new segment, buddy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's keep it going.
Government secrets. Segment number 3. See, I added graphics now to the video.
I added graphics. Ah. God, we're so high tech here. It's incredible.
It is a tech show.
I think people tune in for the production value. I'm pretty convinced. I mean, the talking is okay, but I think they tune in for special effects.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm wearing a game show host hairpiece that I had crazy glued onto my scalp because I'm actually 78 years old, but I look fantastic.
Yeah, you do. Well done.
And these are fake work teeth.
These teeth are only 7 years old. They're doing quite well. Doing quite well. We had my teeth's birthday the other day.
Oh, happy teeth birthday!
Yeah.
Oh, so we wanted to talk about this one was the Exxon Mobil.
Yeah, well, it goes with the orange skies, so it's got a topical topical segue. The orange skies, the red skies in San Francisco, Oregon. I know LA has had the dark skies, which I talked to my brother who's there. It says it smells like a campfire, and you can barely see the sun. So if that's not
layers of like ash on everything, like you can like write your name on if your car's been outside too long, you can like. It's like the snow, but apocalypse.
It's really nice. It's like snow, but we're all gonna die.
Yeah,
it's like
it's at the end of the world snow.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, the Western is on fire, and the I don't know when we're going to deal with climate change. And then I watch, God, this is just a sidebar, but I see like neoliberals on social media, like, please stop voting for Republicans. I'm like, yeah, the Republicans flat out deny climate change, but these are all democratically controlled states. Like,
and how much did Obama do during his 8 years? I mean, this is a guy who bragged about laying more oil pipeline than ever before. He said it was enough to encircle the earth twice. So the idea that Obama was like Mr. Climate is so laughable.
When he had control of the House and Senate, the Democrats controlled everything. He could have passed law after law after law to make it impossible for any future president to not deal with climate change. He could have done a Green New Deal, but he didn't. So like,
and Deepwater Horizon, was under his watch. I realized he couldn't have stopped it from happening, but he could have prosecuted somebody. Yes. He could have said that BP is never allowed to operate in the United States again. Like, there's so much he could have done. Instead, we just give trillions upon trillions of dollars of subsidies to big oil.
Can you imagine if he would have they're still serving in prison. They got like a 15 to 20 year jail sentence for the CEOs of BP. What that would have done for like countries all around the world would have been like, okay, it's game on. We get to arrest all these assholes. No, just said, well, it's not good. And then took their money and.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is these guys know, as with Wall Street crimes, these guys know that the worst they'll suffer is a fine. And usually it's going to be a fine that is like a few days or weeks of their income for these big oil companies. So it's like, if it were a fine that nearly put BP out of business, then that would be a different matter. But they know they'll never face that. They know that's not how it works. They know they've got this government bought off. But to get into the government secret of this, which, most of what we've said so far is not much of a secret, many people don't know that documents have come out showing Exxon knew clearly about climate change as early as at least the 70s.
Like 1977, they did this internal report saying climate change is real. I mean, they called it something different back then, but
I think they said global warming, and they did talk about global emissions. Like it's not that different to the terminology we use now. I mean, ironically, climate change was a terminology pushed by Republicans, created by Republicans to make it sound nicer and softer. Like people are okay with climate change, but kind of ironically, it actually helped the climate change movement because now people can understand that when a place goes from 80 degrees to snowing the following day, that also is climate change. That's climate chaos. It's not just warming. It's all kinds of shit going down. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot on that one. But along with the Exxon thing is an amazing Shell video that I've played on Redacted tonight. I think I've played it maybe twice because it's so mind-blowing. It's wonderful. But it's Shell Oil created in 1991 a video about climate change and about how we needed to figure out how to live on a planet that was with the climate changing and how we're going to deal with this. And oh, do you have it? Let's see.
Yeah. So here's the article about I just wanted to put up real quick about the Exxon Mobil survey. It was July 77 when they did this research, and then the Exxon executives went, well, we're going to do hire an even more internal study, did another internal study that said, oh yeah, it's worse. And then Exxon around the early 80s went, yeah, let's keep this quiet. But so this is the Shell Oil climate change warning.
High quality.
Looks like our graphics.
Yeah.
The moon. In shadow, its surface temperature drops to minus 150 degrees Celsius. In sunlight, it rises to over 100. Virtually at the same distance from the sun, temperatures on Earth are much less extreme, and we owe this life-giving fact to its atmosphere, in particular to the presence of the so-called greenhouse gases.
High-tech animation.
Bands of the electromagnetic spectrum as light and heat.
You might want to skip ahead a little.
I don't know. This is exciting.
To balance this daily income from the sun, Earth radiates energy back, but only in the longer wavelengths of the infrared.
Skip like a minute ahead.
Throughout the long period of man's rise to civilization, this blanket of heat-absorbing gases has kept the average global temperature around 15 degrees Celsius, against the moon's minus 20.
You might want to skip.
But in the last 150 years, this balance has been altered.
Shot of fire.
Burn any organic matter, and its content of carbon combines with oxygen. Burning a cubic meter of natural gas produces roughly 2 kilograms of carbon dioxide. A liter of gasoline, 2.5 kilos. Burn a ton of coal, and you release up to 4 tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. The consumption of these fossil fuels has increased 100-fold. Add to this the more recent burning of the tropical forests, and the result has been a marked and accelerating increase in the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. What's more, there's been an even sharper increase in other, even more potent greenhouse gases, which absorb energy at different wavelengths, retaining even more heat in the atmosphere.
These are the same graphics from the first Star Wars, I think.
And ozone, mainly from traffic.
Stay on target.
Methane from
Stay on target.
Fields. And new to nature, the CFCs, used as blowing and cleaning agents and refrigerants. These other gases could soon be absorbing as much radiation as carbon dioxide. But has this started to make the Earth warmer? Weather is hard to predict, but records of its past behavior go back a long way. Fertile ground for the revealing eye of the computer.
I think you can stop it.
Fertile ground for the discerning eye of the computer.
But to sum it up, this shows that as that video goes on, they're basically saying, we need to fucking pay attention to this. We are filling the atmosphere with carbon dioxide, and it's very serious. And the temperature of the planet is going up. And they basically produced this video, and then apparently internally they were like, yeah, let's fucking not show anybody that. That's terrible. And so it never came out.
This is the thing that drives me insane about climate deniers. They're like,
oh, we're in the screens are weird.
Oh, your screen is weird.
There we go.
This is the thing that drives me insane about climate deniers. They're like, well, it's so cyclical. I go, the oil companies did their own research and said, we're killing the planet. It's global warming. It's climate change. And they covered it up. What more evidence do you need? Like, they know it's awful. And then to people that really are climate change deniers, I go, you know what? You're right. It's just a bunch of hippie. It's big green, right? It's crazy science. So why don't you pull your car into your garage, close all the doors and windows, and let the car run
and see how it goes.
And call me in the morning and just let me know.
Well, and the other thing is people like to go, dude, the planet climate has always changed. Yeah, it has over millions of fucking years, not over 10.
I know. Like, just what's happened in the last, well, you could look at the 100, like they show that last 100, 150 years, basically since the Industrial Revolution, since we started burning coal and other fossil fuels. But then if you just look at the last 20 years, the last 10 years, it was 100 degrees in the Arctic this summer. Yeah. Like, California is on fire. Yeah. Remember last year, Australia was the whole continent on fire. Like, what do you need?
In just 1 week, this past week, we had some of the largest forest fires ever in California, which seems to be every year. Every year they go, oh, they're the largest ever. So largest forest fires ever in California. Also some of the largest ever in Oregon. Skies turning to red and orange, blocking out the sun. In Utah this week, you had winds so high on the highways that they were knocking over Mack trucks, like tractor trailers. Were several of them, many of them were flipping over from 90-mile-per-hour winds, not in a tornado, just happening. And then you have in Denver, it went from somewhere around 90 or 100 degrees to 30 degrees in the span of one day and snowing, like a 70-degree shift in a day.
I don't know. And there's, like, they talk about, oh, there's going to be climate refugees. We're already having them. There's mass evacuations.
Hundreds of thousands, apparently, in Oregon are now fleeing.
You know, I have family up there. There's people that watch our shows up there. I mean, like, you know, I know people that lost their homes in, I don't know, California, the two seasons ago, when every year, like you said, they say it's worse than they just broke a new record. So it's like, I don't know when people, you know, and the climate refugee thing, this has been happening for a while. I mean, it's part of the things that exacerbated what happened in Syria, right? So
it helped create the Syrian civil war.
Yeah. The 5 years drought pushed all of the people out in the and the farmland into the city. And so there was more people there. So when all the civil war happened, I mean, and plus the economic of the drought and everything, like, I don't know. California has 45 million people in it.
Yeah.
Where are half of them going to go?
Yeah. And, you know, I'm sorry. I know this next part's going to upset some people, but the other thing that cannot be talked about in terms of climate change is the number one cause of climate change, which is animal agriculture. You know, the amount of water, fresh water that goes into creating a hamburger is crazy. You know, so you'll see billboards. They put up billboards right in LA. I think that I saw photos of them that said things like, you know, shower with a friend or something, or like they'll do announcements like, you know, if it's yellow, let it mellow. Don't flush the toilet all the time. Yet they won't mention that a hamburger is equivalent to 2 months of your showering. Okay.
Yeah. It's like, it's another reason to go plant-based, to have a plant-based diet, to go vegan, because like dairy products, meat, it's like, it's unbelievable how much resources we spend. And if there's more droughts and stuff like that, and again, it just shows, like, if we attacked climate collapse, it's not even climate change anymore. We're in complete climate collapse. If we attacked it wholesale, there's solutions that could be made. I mean, there's algae out there. There's this mineral Olivaria that you put on the beaches, and they've already done this, and it pulls CO2 out of the air and buries it in the bottom of the ocean, and it takes about a year or two, and it's a process that naturally occurs over about 1,000 years. So they found this mineral that's readily available all throughout the planet. Algae is readily available. So there's like solutions out there that just need money.
Yeah, if we were to use all of the solutions like together, another one that recently is rock dust. Apparently because rocks suck CO2, certain kinds of rocks suck CO2 out of the air. And if you were to take rock dust and spray it onto fields, it actually helps plants grow, and it would be hugely effective because you create dust, you make more surface area of the rock, and it'd be hugely effective in taking carbon out of the air. And of course, that's not going to do it alone. It would have to be all of these things. It'd have to be stop using fossil fuels, use the algae solution, the rock dust. Like if we were actually rational, evolved beings, you would talk about this all together, and you would also talk about how capitalism is the idea of endless growth on a finite planet. It's absolutely, utterly impossible. It may not, even if it weren't collapsing now, it would collapse 100 years from now, because it is a definable path. You cannot have infinite growth on a planet with finite resources, and we're seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we've got to be the dumbest species in the universe. Like we have to. I mean, people are like, there's no intelligent life in the universe. There has to be. They've flown by here and went, these guys are idiots. I mean, this is like the Florida of the galaxy. I mean, like they're like, these guys destroy they need breathable air and drinkable water to survive, and yet they plunder it for money. Oh God, they're morons. They're idiots. They're like the lemmings that push themselves off the cliff.
Yeah, I try and imagine, like, a million years from now when humans are all gone. I mean,
a million? Don't you mean like 20, 15?
Well, also a million, but yeah, 20 years from now when humans are all gone, but then a million years past that or whatever. Yeah, aliens come down and they try and analyze things, and they try and figure out, what it was that killed the thing that was here. And they ultimately come to the conclusion, they came up with a imaginary thing that they thought had power called money, and they then would buy up and destroy all the resources. And it's like, well, didn't they realize they needed a livable planet to keep going? And it's like, no, they thought these green pieces of paper were really important, so they just buy it all up.
And then when they uncover, like they excavate like Vegas, they're going to go, wow, these people were nuts. They were just insane. So they have this statue, and then we found a bigger one on the other side. It's like, but this one had these machines that made this money. It was like crazy. Like, I want to explain like what a casino is to like an evolved species that finds this planet 1,000 years from now. Like, just
well, so the Fermi paradox is the idea of like you've got billions of stars in just our galaxy alone, which is billions of planets. So where is the other life forms? And there's why haven't we ever seen any sign of other life? And there's multiple answers for why this might be. One is that they're so sophisticated that they see us like ants, and they're like, why would we go fuck with those ants? Just let them do their ant thing.
Right.
But one of the ones that I don't hear often talked about is maybe the natural progression of intelligence is you get smarter and smarter, and then you just, create some sort of money system, and you just eat everything and just die because you've consumed the entire livable planet. And this is just the inevitable like path of intelligence. It's just like, then you get Gucci bags at some point along the way. And those are made by children around the other side of the globe you live on. And it's just completely unsustainable. You cut down the trees so that you can have, little nice wallpaper on your house. And
it's, yeah, the second one, that again presupposes that we're intelligent as a species. Like I think they've come here. They visited our planet. I think they've been here. There's all the UFOs. I believe.
No. I was saying some other intelligent species sees us as ants. We're not intelligent. We are the ants. and they're the intelligent, far and more intelligent than us, and they're like, why are we gonna stick our face in that ant hive?
And then the ant hive goes, well, we want Gucci handbags, and they go, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck, everybody. I think they also looked at this ant hive and went, wow, these ants are psychos. They murder each other over
Well, that was the other thing. Now that Trump has created the Space Force and literally we're trying to weaponize space, another government secret there. We're trying to weaponize space. But I was thinking maybe there's a positive in that. Maybe that will show peaceful aliens not to fucking get near this shit. Because we are fucked up.
I hope like peaceful aliens show up and go, okay, you're done. We just, all the guns and nukes are gone. We just, and anyone that fights us, we're going to teach you how to be nice, or we're going to just vaporize you and turn you into dust. Like, you're just going to have to play ball and be nice. And anyone that's like, fuck you, these are my rights, you just get just vaporized. That's what I'm banking on, that they're going to show up and just like, everybody's gun, everybody's army, gone. Done. They just melt all the sociopaths, and all that's left are the good people. Yep, they just take them all out, and all the like billionaires and the wing birds. They're all just money, greed, war. Just like, okay, we got a special ship for you. And you just go on that.
It's right. It's right in that hole. Just go on, and get in there. Yeah,
like that scene in Goodfellas. No. It's just the.
It's just right.
Yeah.
It's right in there. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they realize they're standing on plastic. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And that's my hope for an alien.
But because this is a more evolved species of aliens that comes to do this, they compost the bodies.
Yes. And they sprinkle that. And that's what absorbs the CO2 is the dust of sociopaths. It's like those rocks you talked about.
I heard sociopath dust does take in a lot of carbon. So
they absorb the CO2, and it's great. But you can't plant them as seeds because then psycho trees grow, and we don't want that to happen.
That's really good to hear. Yeah. But, to go back to LA and California and everything, you do have to wonder at what point will people care? They literally can walk outside now and it tastes like burning. The world tastes like burning. Is that the point that you go, maybe this is kind of like all we should care about? Maybe this is like almost all we should be talking about is how to stop this and fix this and deal with this.
It's the whole vote any blue will do crowd. It's like Ice Cube said it the other day on his Instagram or Twitter or whatever. That's
where I go for most of my political thought.
He boiled it down. He goes, get something for your vote. I'm going to just give you my vote. Like it's if you're walking outside and you're smelling smoke and there's ash and the sky is orange, like fucking Blade Runner, and you think the Democratic Party, like, you should be like, if I'm voting for you, crazy idea. I need to get something for my vote. Like, just, I give you my vote no matter what. They have zero incentive. Like, it's all anyone should be talking about. And the Democrats, they're going to save us. Yes, the Republicans deny climate. Dianne Feinstein told a bunch of Girl Scouts, get out of here. I know what I'm talking about. I'm smarter than you dummies. Like,
the green dream or whatever it's called.
Yeah. If we don't deal with, like, people need to really understand. I say this all the time. We fix everything else. Police brutality, the elections, money in pot. We fix all that stuff, but we don't fix the environment. It's over. It doesn't matter. None of it matters.
And that's why, the Gray Zone just did a great, it's like a real deep dive into the details behind Planet of the Humans, which was, you and I have talked about that before. It's a Michael Moore movie that has really caused a fucking major storm among the Any Blue Will Do crowd, among the big green neoliberals, because there's certain parts about it that people can certainly get upset about, but the part that kind of the big green machine doesn't want to talk about is that most of them are working with large capitalist entities, either big banks or things like, like Bill McKibben keeps saying, divest from oil and gas. Yes, I agree with that part. And where are you going to put the money you divest from there? And he says, oh, put it in this green fund or whatever. And it turns out if you actually look into what's in the green fund, it's like fucking Halliburton and it's fucking big banks and it's all this shit. And he wrote this article, which I'm going to tear apart on the next Redacted tonight, but defending the Pentagon and how great the Pentagon is. And it's like, you cannot save the environment, stop climate change, deal with this while pushing massive capitalism. They do not go together. It is impossible. And so those people that tell you, hey, we're going to just invest in clean energy and keep eating the world consuming the world at a completely unsustainable rate, dumping fucking megatons of plastic into the oceans and cutting down all of the forests, but we're going to have solar panels while we do it. Anyone who tells you that's the solution, they're fucking lying to you. And they're trying to create they're trying to keep unfettered capitalism going while appearing to address climate change.
Yeah, absolutely. They just want to keep and it's the problem with so many of the neoliberals is they make nice 6, 7, and in some cases 8-figure incomes, but they think they're so woke because they, recycle and believe in gay marriage or whatever, but they're still just like, capitalism is awesome because I've benefited from it. I don't care that there's tent cities. I don't care that there's climate refugees in America today. I don't care that Californians and Oregonians and Washingtonians can't go outside and jog because it'll burn their lungs and they can't see the sun like the Lorax, for the love of God. Like it's more like, yes, Republicans are bad. Yes, all of Trump's cabinet is climate deniers, but they make that, they're obvious about it. They at least they're very clear that they're the problem. The neoliberals are worse because they talk like they're all helping everybody and they secretly do all this shit that you're talking about. Like, oh yeah, we got to get off of fossil fuel, but we'll make sure that Goldman Sachs is helping in on the process or whatever. Like, right. Great. Goldman Sachs. And they just, Liz Warren saying, I want to green up the military, Joe Biden's middle ground climate policy. Like, oh God, this is the middle ground climate policy of corporate Democrats. Is the West Coast is on fire and there's hundreds of thousands currently, could be more like millions momentarily, if not already millions of people are evacuating because everything's on fire and could lose their homes and not have anything to go back to.
Yeah. I mean, at what point will people realize that the voting between the two evils is not grand change? I mean, literally your world is on fire. Literally, you can't go outside and you can't see your family because of a raging pandemic and a environment that's melting down. And this is where voting between these two corporate, unfettered, capitalist, destructive parties that are really basically one party on 90% of the issues, this is where it's gotten us. And it's like, do you want to keep going down this path? Are you having a good time? Everything going well for you? Because this didn't start with Trump. I got bad news for you. I got bad news. If you think this started in 2016, you really have not been paying attention
at all. Like, this has been going on we've been talking about climate change seriously. I've been seriously following it for over 20 years. Everything everyone's been saying, we've been talking about this for years, and Obama had 8 years and did goddamn nothing. A little policy here and there, and that's what a Joe Biden presidency will do. He'll roll back a couple of the Trump deregulations, and then all the neoliberals will go, yay, we did it, we won, and we're going to pull him to the left. Yes, that's happened every time we've had a Democratic president. Obama, we didn't pull him to the left, but Clinton, nope, didn't pull him to the left. Jimmy Carter only had one term. LBJ, did we pull him to the left when he increased bombing in Vietnam? I don't think so. JFK, he got pulled to the left by a fucking bullet coming from that. There's a left turning bullet that got him. Like, no one is.
Actually, left turning bullet. Actually, JFK was one of the few that did turn to the left, and then he found the bullet.
Yeah, and his brother really wanted to go left, and they killed him for just thinking about going that left. So this is what happened. The pull left theory is more like, as I've said, like it's like go get a job inside a drug cartel and see if you can get them to stop dealing drugs and pull the drug cartel
from changing from the inside. Yeah,
change it from the inside out.
To sum all this up, folks, invest in gas masks. All right. Because I think you'll make a lot of money. And really what we're trying to do here, this podcast, we're trying to do it every week, just help you make lots of money.
Yeah. That's what this is about.
Yeah.
Just boom, money. In all seriousness though, I always say this, vote with your dollars, invest in actual green projects and green energy, buy products that are green. And I would suggest, this is my just personal thing, I get more into cryptocurrency because it takes the power away from the centralized governments like the Federal Reserve and the assholes like Goldman Sachs.
Yeah. It is, I mean, fucking up centralized banking is a noble pursuit.
Yeah, it is, because somewhere in the West Coast being on fire, there's central banks that helped create this or profit from it somewhere. There's no way they're not involved in some capacity. There's no
way. They and big oil are one and the same. I mean, they heavily invest in big oil, which gives big oil the money to then put in pipelines that cost billions of dollars so that they can then exploit this oil, and the centralized bankers, which run our government, they give big oil billions in subsidies. So yeah, it's one and the same.
Yeah. We talked about Governor Brown in California, talked about high-speed rail between LA and San Francisco. Never got finished, but we always got money for pipelines. Gavin Newsom, the big hero of the left, on April 24th in the middle of the pandemic, well, everyone was praising him. Oh, he's doing his job as the governor. He's just doing his job. It's so funny. Like, government's so bad that when a guy just does what he's supposed to do, everyone thinks he's some sort of hero that can walk on water. But while he was doing his job, oh, by the way, he approved a bunch of fracking permits. So that's
something like 350 fracking events since he got into office.
So this notion, like we should have high speed rail. I mean, California, like we should have all this stuff in place, and we have prisoners
fighting the fires.
Prisoners, they get $1 a day. Anyway, I think that's a wrap on Government Secrets episode Mauve.
I think it should be episode Orange in honor of the skies in California.
God, it's unbelievable. So, well, Lee Camp, where can people find all your business?
Yeah, everybody, don't forget to please share this. Tell everybody to to listen to Government Secrets. I know that those of you here now enjoyed watching it, but please let everybody know about the podcast. I think, podcasts are obviously easier because you don't have to tune it in any time or anything like that. We are now on all of the platforms, I believe, except for Piddlywinks. We haven't gotten on there yet, but I think it's coming. Twitcher Doodles, we already did that one, I believe. We're on there. But yeah, all my other stuff, you just go to leecamp.com. My comedy special is free to watch. You can watch it tonight at leecampamerican.com. I have another podcast called Common Censored, and I have a TV show called Redacted tonight, but the easiest thing is just to go to leecamp.com.
Nice, folks. Of course, like Lee said, download the audio. If you're just watching the video of this, please download the audio, because that's a free way to support the show, because the downloads, that analytic, that number helps us, and it helps support the show, and also writing positive reviews on platforms like iTunes that have
you can just push a positive review out of your sphincter, that would help us a lot. Just push it out.
Just push it out. Just don't constipate your love of this show. Really thrust it out, squeeze it out through the rectum of your social media. And and then like, share, and subscribe, and do all that stuff. And of course, I have a show, Political Vigilante. We go live like 4 or 5 days a week at YouTube. Also, I'm on rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. Check that out, and then you can donate to me, and I have a PayPal button, all these great things you can do. I have a PO box. If you go to grahamelwood.com, all my social media is there. Check it out. So that's Government secrets. End of episode.
Episode number unknown.
Episode number unknown. Yeah, government secrets.
All right, man. I will see you next week.
All right, buddy. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Later.